Today is the 6th day of this December 1982 7-day sesshin. Yesterday we worked on the koan 29 from the Blue Cliff record, Ta Sui's It Goes Along With It. And if we get to it, there were still a few finishing touches that could be said. Also, I've brought along Huang Po's transmission of the mind to read and comment on that one paragraph, when a man is about to die. But before getting to either one of those two, there are a few things that came up in meetings. Sometimes once, twice, or 3 times with different people. Not with the same people, which may be really generally applicable and for all of us to look at and question into. One person brought up the fact that he was confused when in a talk yesterday he heard that the questioning itself be questioned. The statement that was made, I do not remember it verbatim, was something like, to be careful that the who or the mu or the what does not become a crutch in itself, an escape. Now, if one is working with this, then to constantly ask myself, am I escaping now? Am I using this as a crutch? Could be a real disturbance and of the flow of questioning. And it's not necessary to do that. But if the who or mu or what is it, or just the questioning, some people are just questioning without a word or attending wordlessly, if it assumes sort of a mechanical, dull, murky quality, then if this comes into awareness, and it may take quite a time, it may go on and on and on, run like a record, before it comes into awareness that this is so. And at a moment like that, to stop and look and question, why is this so dull, so automatic, so murky, so compulsive, as one person put it, compulsive. If there is this compulsiveness, this sort of sheer repetitiveness, mechanicalness, then there may be something underneath it that is not being faced. The compulsive questioning, the mechanicalness of it itself being the escape, the running. Also, at the time that this repetitiveness rolls along, other thoughts may also be in the mind and being pursued. One can pursue thoughts very easily while a mu, who, what goes on another record. We can play many at a time. Not we can play them, but they run off simultaneously, so it appears. So when there is this dullness of mechanicalness, or this real compulsive feeling, then it is good to look. What's hiding underneath? Now, you may say, how do you know there's something hiding underneath? It's an assumption. I'm not saying there is, but is there? Even when There are murky thoughts, and sometimes the thought activity has this quality of dullness and murkiness to it. If one stops and questions it, maybe that there's a real physical pain that one is not facing, that one is just, without any awareness, just trying to shut out, shut off. So the mechanicalness is sort of like a warning signal, a blinker light. If one sees it as such, takes it as such, to look, to open up. The whole question, what is it? And to allow whatever there is, if there is anything, to unfold, to reveal itself, which it will do if there's no one already sitting there with a ready whip or judgment. When there's no one there, there's just the openness to look, to listen, to attend. What is it? Then the mu or the who or the what may assume a new freshness. Because what has been compulsively kept under pressure is no longer there, has changed. But just to compulsively, let me put it this way, compulsively interrupt oneself every 5 minutes, am I compulsive, is just fragmenting the whole work. You'll notice it, it'll come into awareness eventually. No need to have a little man or a little woman inside stand outside of oneself, which is all, again, creation, thought creation, and an aggravation of this already existing split. Separation from what is. So can who, mu, what go on in the midst of unrepressed pain, feelings, emotions, without naming them, without knowing what they are? You don't know what they are. They are what they are, and they change constantly. And they can freely enfold and disappear if they're not jumped upon, judged, evaluated, compared. Sometimes when the work, the mu or who, is mechanical, it is just that one doesn't know why one is doing this thing anymore. Really, one doesn't know. Why the hell am I here? What am I doing this for? What is this all about? One has really lost any kind of feeling or fire for this questioning. Then people ask, is it all right then to ask a new question? Of course. You don't have to ask me. Do it. Revitalize this question, which is an important question. It was once for you. Rekindle it somehow or other. And how does one rekindle it? Does one rekindle it by projecting some goals to be attained, something beautiful, tempting in the future? Then there is this division again between now and the future, and the wanting it. You can see that so plainly. One person once told me that as she was working on mu, it had gotten so dull, so dead. She was walking through the woods and she came upon something which looked a big blotch of excrement. And there was a revulsion, immediate revulsion. And then she stopped and looked. It was a piece of wood. And it hit her. It just hit her how she could have reacted so strongly to an image, to a thought of what something was. And she picked it up. And it was wood. But in asking her, did you see it? She said, no, I couldn't see it. I still saw the word wood. This is really honest work. To see that one doesn't see. She realized it was still a word, and it was a real agony arose, a real pain, and a tremendous yearning. What is reality? I'm stuck in words, either revolting because of an image, and then when I see it's not that, I still don't see what it really is. I can't see it. There's this word wood, and why did you act this way? All this whole stuff revolving around. And what was in the hand wasn't seen. And there was a powerful rekindling of this question, what is mo, which to her meant, what is reality? Another thing that has been brought up by one or two people is that sometimes in listening to a talk or to something that's said in Doksan, in meeting, either they hear me say, you must see this, you must see through this, or at least they feel the implication of what is being said is, you must do that. I try to be very, very careful not to say, you must do that. And also when we read it in texts, when this comes up, I usually try not to let it pass, to say, if it says you must, then there comes, and when it's setting up the authority, the conforming or the rebellion against authority. Whereas if it's put in question form, then it's open for you to question, with no one demanding that or forcing the issue, and therefore becoming an authority figure. But as I've already mentioned in a talk, several people used to tell me, and every once in a while tell me, even your questions seem to have this demanding quality. Well, to tell you the truth, for me they do. I'm not trying to impose it upon you. And certainly not as something to take over, lock, stock, and barrel, to believe in, to mark, this expression, mark my words. Don't mark my words. But test whether this is so, whether you can see it. Maybe don't just say, all right, I'll listen to the talk and later on I'll see if I can see. Maybe you can see right as it is being said. That these words are not just empty words, they point to something. To what? To something that goes on in human beings. Not in you specifically, in me specifically, but in the human mind, in which we all participate, which has formed us and to which we're contributing. When emotions are aroused or reactions are aroused by hearing you must do this, or by whatever is said, but it has that effect upon one, can one look what it is that either rebels or hurts or feels uneasy, disturbed? What is it? There is in all of us a great yearning to follow authority, because in that there seems to be security. German word is Geborgenheit, being taken care of, being sheltered. And not to have to go through this painful and quite strenuous and arduous process of looking and thinking for oneself. And yet one also rebels against it, because one wants to be free from that. One has gone through incredible pain and delusion, following, obeying, conforming. And one has seen quite clearly the results of that, the outcome, the consequences of it. One is afraid of doing it over and over again. Can you see all that? The wanting security and shelter and being taken care of, and at the same time rebelling against it. The fear of it. The danger of it. Because you may be led astray. You don't know. And we are being led astray, left and right. There's propaganda impinging upon us from all directions, including religious propaganda. What does it mean to stand alone on one's 2 feet and inquire? Alone? Which doesn't mean now to shun coming to talks, to take a walk while the talk is going on. Maybe something comes clear in a talk. Or maybe you see that this is not so, and you tell me. You tell me in a meeting. I don't see it this way. Can we talk about it again? One person had, it's in the same vein, had the impression that yesterday during a talk, it was said that thinking must stop. And immediately, of course, it's very clear, comes here, my God, it doesn't stop for me, so I'm an outsider here in this group. Maybe for others it stops. For me it doesn't. That's one reaction. The other one is, here I'm caught again and I must do this thing. And it doesn't come from oneself, it comes because somebody has said it. Actually, I think if you go through the tape, it wasn't said that way. But that wasn't the issue. The person didn't insist upon that it was said this way, but this is how it was received. And sort of the anxiety and disease that arises when one feels one ought to do something that one cannot do. What do you do when you're faced with this dilemma? Look at it. The ought is an idea. What is happening is a stream of thinking, inundating the mind. As a matter of fact, the mind is that stream of thinking. So can one always start there and look and question? Right in the middle of the stream. It must stop is another idea, another wave in there. But the question, can it stop? Because one has looked at it, one sees what it does, how it sweeps one away. The danger of being swept away. Then this questioning has a different quality altogether. Can it stop? I don't know. Neither do I know that it cannot, or that it can. But unless I find out, I'm just putting up with it, and that's more waves in the street. Related to what has already been said is what one person mentioned. Not just casually, that wasn't mentioned casually. It was really in a state of despair. I realize I can't even trust you. Not because something was found wrong, but because of realizing I can't put my faith anywhere as long as I don't see. I can't see. And what I'm doing is just adopting your words, but they're words. So my goodness, I can't even trust you. Who can I trust? And this is a feeling where the floor drops away from under you. There's nothing to believe in anymore. Doesn't know where to go, what to do. When there's this state of total lostness and the despair that goes with it, don't run away from it. Don't start building up a new floor. It happens so quickly because we hate being in limbo with nothing, absolutely, virtually nothing and no one to hold on to. Who, what, mu, or attending. Very carefully not to build up a new belief. This is how beliefs grow. This is where they come from. One person told me this recently, came to see me at the house there in Rochester. He had been to a 4-day sesshin. His first one, never been to a sesshin, never really done much group sitting or anything. Usually, mostly sat on his own for a long time. And within a day and a half, as he reported, he was in that state of there being nothing to stand on, nothing to hold on to. And it was a terror to him, absolutely terrifying. And the way he reported it, he said, I began taking up my tea to the bathroom and doing everything according to an orderly sequence. The way I took my bath, the way I took the soap, and so forth and so forth. I established a bathing ritual every day. And it only struck him either on the last day or when he was home again that he had evaded something that he could have jumped right into with this bathing ritual, which became his refuge. But he thought. And upon asking, was that the last sesshin for you? He said, no, I got to come back. I don't think this is going to happen again. Oh, we don't know. You don't know. Leave everything open, have no conclusions about the future. And what has happened in the past, don't sort of take it along as a little help. Leave it. See it, learn it, and leave it. So there's this freshness of facing the new instant. Is that possible? I just said leave it. It's not a directive. Some people tell me, you know, you drive me nuts putting everything into question. Isn't there something can come out of your mouth which is not a question? So you see, you can't please everybody. Yesterday we read about the monk asking Dasui, when the Kalpa fire flares up and the great cosmos is destroyed, I wonder, will it perish or will it not perish? And the answer, it will perish. And the repeated question, then will it go with it? Yes, it will go with it. Or yes, it will be destroyed. Can one put aside thinking of the end of the eon, the end of one's life, the end of the world, and shiver in fear at the thought of it? And question whether there can be ending here and now, not as a fine sentence, but in actuality. Something comes up, great despair, great anxiety, terror, facing it completely, letting it come up and unfold completely, and there be a complete ending, and then a fresh moment, or a new day. In which one does not draw and wallow in what was and happened. It's finished. No matter how much you think about it, you won't undo it. I know there are exceptions to this. One may need to think about something, think something through which happened, like taking a deck of cards and putting all 52 cards face up and looking at the whole thing. As it happened, the whole thing, not just my point of view, but trying to also see what happened in the other people who were there, in the circumstances, the whole thing that led up to it. looking at it, thinking it through, doing it as thoroughly as one is capable of doing, and then can one be done with it? Can the flood or the fire sweep it away? The fire of needing to be here now, questioning, attending now. Because if one does not, the same thing which one is just pondering over and mulling over is going to happen again. We don't see how critical it is to attend or to question. Now. What comes up now? You know, the whole past is wrapped up in that. It is not separate from it. You don't have to go recently into the past or farther, childhood, womb, past life. It's all sitting right here. Now please, I'm not, how do you say, putting down therapy or so. If you need to do that, then do it and be there. And here, can you be here? Not really knowing where you are in terms of descriptions and points of reference, things that you can hold on to. Really not knowing. It is crucial, it is vital. If one sees that, like this person who realized she was stuck in words. She couldn't see. And therefore, if you don't see, if you're stuck in words, you're influenced by them. And all the stupidity happens then. All the pain things we do. The division. Antagonism comes from labels and words. If one is in fire with this inquiry, then it burns all it was, and there's just questioning now. Maybe there is a total opening, a total burning up. Not burning out, but burning up of all the obstructions. With no ashes left. You say, well, you talk about being on fire, but I'm not. Well, you're here. One time, an old Chinese dialogue between a teacher and a student. It was cold of the room, and the teacher said, "Go make some fire." And the student went to the fireplace, and there was nothing in there. The fire had burnt out. So the teacher walked over and just picked up just a little piece of glowing ash. Just one pinpoint of glow. He says, "Is that not fire?" No measure, no comparison. too late to start the Huang Po, but I'll bring something else up that one person mentioned in a meeting. It wasn't completely spelled out, so I don't remember. There was not a complete question, but I'll put it together the way I understood it. This person said, what about karma? What about expiating karma? Old karma, bad karma. And upon asking, well, what are you thinking about? What is karma? Karma is sitting here. All the past is sitting here. He mentioned, what about something like the Holocaust? Maybe meaning, what if one has participated in that? Doesn't that karma have to be expiated? The first response given to that was, aren't we all implicated in the Holocaust? If one would peruse, if it was possible to let history roll by one, to peruse it, to look at it, it flares up everywhere. The Holocaust. The dimensions may vary. The ingenuity of torture may vary, although it hasn't varied much. People in olden days were very ingenious about it. The amounts of people killed seems to always be on the increase. But the quantity doesn't matter, does it? Are there the guilty and the innocent? Because just we weren't participating in that particular thing, are we innocent of what leads to a thing like that? I think I mentioned a few years ago in a talk, coming upon various biographical fragments of the childhood, early childhood of Hitler. It was absolutely heart-rending to read what had happened to that child in that family. Total humiliation, daily beatings, etc. I don't have to repeat it all. In a family which was weighed by guilt, because there was some Jewish component in the family, but it had to be covered up. There was shame about illegitimacy, either of the father or the mother, I don't remember anymore. A combination of these cruel social pressures which we create and which create us. And the child growing up in this. Several times, as little as he was running away from home and being retrieved, and you can imagine what happened to him then. The Holocaust caused indescribable suffering, and it was the outcome of indescribable suffering of human beings. Just another manifestation of human sorrow created by human beings. Because of image, separation, isolation, and the pain. Because of humiliation suffered, pain suffered at the hands of others, and this almost irrepressible urge for revenge that we all know in less drastic quantities. All these ingredients, social respectability and the pain if it's not there, trying to prove it. Social respectability for a very limited group, and the others are the outcasts, the Jews, Catholics, Palestinians, whoever. And the hatred that comes from it. And it can all, to some extent or other, to some measure or other, be observed in oneself. Just because the scale is small doesn't mean it's not of the same essence and substance. So the question again, can it come to an end here? So one will not contribute at least continuously to this pool of sorrow, hatred, vengeance, ignorance of who and what one is? Doesn't one need to find out who and what one is? Just this isolated, sorrowful individual in despair, in the despair of isolation? Or does one get an inkling by seeing people, talking to people, being with people, seeing the news, that people are the same everywhere? And suffering from the same ills and disease everywhere. And with a yearning for freedom everywhere. What makes for division? What makes for isolation? And can it come to an end? I must find this out. I see no other way. I have no choice. Because whatever I do affects everyone. It is so. It can be understood intellectually, and it can be felt directly. So what is right action? Right, responsible action, which has nothing to do with following what somebody hands down as this is responsible action. I got to find it for myself. I got to see clearly whether what is handed down is responsible action. If I can't see clearly, I got to take somebody else's word for it. Do you see this necessity? And the urgency of it? Then there will be a rekindling of the who, the mood, the attending, the questioning, the what. Even if it's just an ember to start out with. Or ashes to start out with. It doesn't matter. We will end here for today.